Hi guys, Brian from Biggest Boas here. One of the things that boa constrictors are known for, of course, is their size. And I'm often asked about the size of my boas, what are my biggest boas. So today I thought I'd show you guys my biggest boas. And I'm going to show you not just the largest snakes in my collection, but also I'm going to show you large animals for a particular type of boa as well. And I'm going to start with the smaller ones and work my way up to the much larger ones. So if you want to see some big boas, be sure to stay tuned. And I thought I'd start on the small end of the spectrum with what is the largest example of your smallest type of boa. And as I've said before, probably the smallest type of locality boa is the Tarahumara mountain dwarf boa from northern Mexico that typically gets to be around 4 feet long. And this is one of my adult females. She's about maybe 4.5 feet long. This is about as big as I've seen. My females have all gotten to be about this size. The male's a little bit, shorter than this. And I just wanted to underscore that if you think a boa constrictor is a giant and it's too big of a snake for you to manage, that's really not always the case. And if you've kept a ball python or a corn snake before, there are types of boas that don't get any bigger. So the first is, this is a large adult Tarahumara mountain dwarf boa. I would say about 4.5 feet. Next we have another type of boa that's known for being a dwarf. That's the Craw Key dwarf boa from a small island off the coast of Belize. This is my largest female. This animal is almost 20 years old, born in 2005. And as you know, boas will continue to grow throughout their life. And she has just, continued to grow. She's actually quite a bit bigger than my other Craw Key boas. The other ones are only around 4 feet or so. I would say she's probably about 5.5, maybe even 6 feet long. Just a larger example of a Craw Key boa. So although I would say it's still a smaller boa, each locality does vary on its size, and they don't all stay in the exact size range. Sometimes they're a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller than typical. And I would say this example of a Craw Key boa is a giant for that particular locality. Next we have another large island boa. This one is a hog island boa. And people often have this erroneous idea that these are dwarf boas. They're really not. They're kind of a medium-sized boa. This female, I would say, is about 7 feet long. She's about 10 or 12 years old. And incidentally, it's really hard to get an exact measurement on a snake. Of course, they don't hold still to be measured, and it's pretty hard to measure them. So I don't even really try to measure my snakes. I just estimate them, and I can get definitely within, about a foot or so. So I'd say she's about a 7-footer. Most of the animals in this video are probably around the 7-foot range. But as I mentioned, they do continue growing throughout their life. So the older the boa is, the larger it's likely to be. And this is a large example of a hog island boa. One more island boa. This is a pearl island boa. And these animals, the largest example will be somewhere around 7 to 8 feet. This female is probably close to 8 feet. It's really hard to measure her. These pearl island boas don't really sit still for very long, and so it's very difficult to get an accurate measurement. But this is a good sized animal. The pearl island boas, they're not as thick as other types of boas, so they'll be longer. So they won't be quite as stout, which they don't look quite as big as a typical 8-foot boa. They won't have the same mass. But I would say this female is about 7 to 8 feet. And she's about 10 years old or so. Real nice example. She's produced several litters, and if you have a pearl island boa from me, there's a good chance that this is the mother of your baby. Next, I wanted to show you a big morph boa. This guy is a sunglow. It's a albino and hypo. This guy's a male. He's the only male, I think, in this video. And as you probably know, the female boas tend to be bigger, but this male's pretty big. And I think I might have a couple of female morphs that are bigger than this guy, but they're breeding right now, and I don't want to take them out since they might be gravid. And this is a pretty good size male. He's actually breeding too, and with any luck, he'll have his first litter later this year. And I got this guy actually about a year ago from a friend of mine. The friend of mine wanted a snake to do like presentations that he could take out to the kids to schools and stuff, and it would be really docile and have no chance of injuring anyone. And I guess this guy, maybe when he was younger, he struck out or hissed or something. He's actually been like super docile for me though. I haven't seen any sign of defensiveness. So maybe he just mellowed out with age. But he's doing real well, breeding real well with my Junglo female. And I would say this guy is probably about 7.5 feet. He's kind of hard to measure also, but pretty decent sized boa. You can see I'm kind of getting a workout holding him. He's pretty heavy, pretty dense and muscular. But you know, this is a good size for an adult morph boa, largely of Colombian descent, if not completely from Colombian descent. Next, we have another type of locality boa that's known to be one of the largest, and that's the Argentine boa. And this is a big female. I'd say she's about the same size as the male sunglow we just looked at, probably around 7.5 feet or so. Quite a, she doesn't really like to hold still. But this female is about 10 years old, and she had her first litter back in 2023, just last year. Really nice babies. She actually lost a lot of weight when she was gravid. Unfortunately, she wouldn't eat for most of the time she was gravid, so she didn't eat for like probably 5 or 6 months, and she was like skin and bones after those babies were born. So I've been feeding her more often, you know, around every week to 10 days, getting the weight back on. She looks pretty good right now. I could probably start to taper the feedings off again. But the Argentines are a little bit more slender than like the true red tails for the same length of animal, but you can see she's a good size animal. Real thick and muscular and really impressive to handle. You can see she's giving me a workout. You know, I actually had my original pair of Argentines, that's the parents, the mother and father of this one. Those were actually larger than her. I would say they were probably close to 9 feet. And unfortunately, you know, they passed away a few years ago. But they were, you know, around 20 years old. They just continued growing for their entire life. But the Argentines are a good sized boa, definitely impressive. And you can see I'm getting a workout just holding her. Okay, a couple more big boas to share with you. These are both red tails, and as you probably know, the boa constrictor are the largest of the boas, of the boa constrictors. And this is a Peruvian specimen from Iquitos. This is a farm-born or farm-bred one. She's about 7-8 years old, I think, and pretty good sized animal. I'd say 7.5 feet. She's in shed right now. Really muscular animal. I wouldn't say a giant, but she's a good sized boa. And you've probably seen pictures online of these boas that are 12, 13, 14 feet, and they are out there. But these huge animals are just really rare. So I personally haven't had any animal larger, any boa larger than about 9 feet. And none of these animals are going to get all that much bigger either. But they're good sized animals. And this one, hopefully she'll breed for me this year. I've tried breeding her a couple times previously. Haven't had any luck so far. Maybe 2024 will be the year, but beautiful animal. She's kind of dark now, but she's got this beautiful yellow color when she sheds. And just a really classic example of the look of the Iquitos locality Peruvian true red-tailed boa. One more big girl to share with you, and I'm pretty sure she's my largest boa. This is a Guyana red tail. She's probably at least 8, maybe even 8.5 feet. She's a big girl, and she's a bit of a challenge to handle as well. In fact, she made an appearance in my handling my most aggressive boas episode. Luckily, she didn't cause any damage. So this girl is about, I think she's 14 years old. She's a 2010. She's from Mike Eckert's bloodline. Beautiful looking animal. Doesn't really look like a Suriname, although Guyana and Suriname are really the same thing. She definitely has a different look. And I don't even think I can get her all on camera here. She's just not cooperating. Incidentally, I got probably my worst bite ever from a snake from this animal. It was more like being punched with a chainsaw on steroids. And it did quite a bit of damage. But she's calmed down since then. Nonetheless, this is a big boa. And I'm not going to push my luck anymore. I'm going to put her away. Okay, she just was not in the mood to be filmed, so I thought it'd be best to put her away. And I hope you enjoyed this episode looking at some of my biggest boas. As always, if you have any questions or comments, shoot me a line. You can write the comments below. I'd like to hear about your biggest boas. If you want to write them in the comments, feel free. Thanks for watching, and enjoy your boas.